Okay, welcome back, everybody. We're going to be looking at, for this Ask Me Anything stream, we're going to be looking at chromatic chords. Our first look at the more sort of advanced chords that you use in music. We've already looked at diatonic chords in a previous stream. If you're a little bit unsure about chords in general, I did do a summary of this up on the website. So if you want to head over to Top Score Music Academy, in the blog section, there is sort of a summary of everything to do with diatonic chords. I'll show you where it actually is, just before we get started into the more advanced stuff. Okay, so if I just do like a new window and just head over to, let me see, don't want to be sharing anything, just in case anybody's, I don't think there's anything that's, no, nothing that's sensitive on the main page. Okay, so if you go to blog, in the blog part, I'm updating this almost daily now. Excuse me. The most recent two, actually yesterday's, that was today's, there's another two to come before the end of tonight. So like this blog is getting well used and updated every single day. If you scroll down, it's probably going to get to the stage where you don't want to scroll down because there's just more and more and more and more stuff. So if you want to just go to select category and music theory, that will sort of fish out all the main music theory stuff. And the one that you want is just to do with ordinary chords, which is this one here. There's another one on intervals as well. Just better check to make sure my levels are coming through. Just while I'm here, please check. Let me see. We'll sort of fish out all the main. Yeah, okay. So my levels are good. So chords is where you will find all of the ordinary or the most popular chords, major in a major key anyway. I could do another one on minor keys. Really, there's not that much difference. There's a little. I'm just looking to think. We'll see. We'll see. If there's anyone who's particularly interested in chords in a minor key, yeah, we'll see. If we can make another video on that, it's no problem. It's just that it's going to be repeating probably a lot of what we already have here. The only thing that will probably change, I'd say, would be this part at the end. Instead of major keys, there'll just be a minor keys version of this. But nearly everything else will more or less be the same. The qualities of chords will be different, so I might make another table for you guys. Yeah, but most of the same stuff will apply for major keys and minor keys. And also the Ask Me Anything, this is from the 11th of March. This one is, again, embedded in the actual web page, so you can actually click on it and listen back to another Ask Me Anything. But basically everything, this is all of it summarized. Everything that was in that video is all summarized here with pictures as well. So, and tables and little quotes and insights and pro tips and stuff and practice tips and mistakes. All these things to watch out for. So I'll be making another one, of course, for today's more advanced chords, chromatic chords. But if you are a little bit rusty just on chords in general, harmony in general, I definitely recommend checking this out first. Okay, so let me just get rid of this for now. Okay, so basically when we're talking about chromatic chords, there's a couple of things I need to sort of share with you guys. Sharing moment. First of all, chromatic chords aren't as difficult as a lot of the theory books are make them out to be. It did take me years to learn all of this, and there is a sort of plotting, exercises after exercises to go through each of these things. But really, there's a couple of key characteristics for each type of chromatic chord. So we'll explain what chromatic chords are, and then we'll go into each one. We'll probably just cover one type for today, but it'll definitely be the most popular type. So that's the first thing. When we're talking about chromatic chords, chromatic harmony is an umbrella term. In other words, it encompasses loads of other types of harmony. when we're talking about diatonic harmony or just our ordinary chords, there are really only the 7 in the major keys that we were looking at last time. But when we're talking about chromatic harmony, you could be talking about quite a few different types of chords and harmonies. And really all of them are unified by this principle of chromatic harmony. A chromatic chord or chromatic harmony is harmony that has an accidental in it that doesn't belong to the key. Okay, that's the characteristic of chromatic harmony. So chords, if you're in the key of C major, for example, and you start hearing or seeing chords like that, or even that, C major shouldn't have anything. So when you start seeing like an F sharp there, or even that chord there where you've got A flats, E flats, and F sharps, all of those are chromatic. Both of those are chromatic chords, and there's many types of others as well. In fact, if I just, yeah, let me see, it's coming up slightly strange. There we go. I want it as a D flat. And that does matter, actually, the type of accidentals you're writing. That's another type of chromatic harmony in the key of C major as well. So we're going to be looking at different types of chromatic chords. They're not as complicated as most textbooks and websites. And when you go into a Wikipedia article and you look up something like Neapolitan chords or German augmented sixth chords, unfortunately, to me anyway, there does definitely seem to be quite a bit of gatekeeping going on for some of those articles where they hit you with loads and loads of complicated information and loads of detail that is, a little bit extra than what you really need. All you need to know is like the basics for what these chords are, and then you can always go into Wikipedia later. I find that sometimes Wikipedia's pages on this are almost like a music encyclopedia, or they're extremely detailed. There definitely does it's great that it is, it's fantastic resource, don't get me wrong, but it's not the greatest thing for learning, I think, because it can put a lot of students off. I know students of mine here, A-level students, and even students I've taught who've gone to college to do degrees in music, and they'll come back and say, I'm still not entirely sure what chromatic chords are, or what Neapolitan chords are. They may have forgotten, or they may they weren't really learning it properly in school or something. So yeah, it is a little bit tricky when you're just relying on that resource, because it does sort of give you a lot for every single type of chromatic harmony, and really there's only a few really important things for each one that you need to know, and then you can go delve into it deeper and figure out all the different styles where these chords are used. For example, I've seen the Neapolitan chord article or the German augmented sixth chord article where they start talking about it in jazz music and classical music and pop music, and they'll only have like a little tiny paragraph at the start that explains what it is, and then immediately there's like an information dump of like, here's every instance you'll ever have heard it or seen it, and here's what it looks like in different keys, and here's what it looks like when it originally was formed, here's the whole history of it, how did it come around. And really all you're looking for is a little bit more explanation of what it is, rather than the whole history of it and how it's used in every type of style. So that's what we're going to try and aim to do in these lessons, I think, is just take one chromatic chord a week, or maybe not one a week, but definitely one over this week, and maybe one over the next week, and we'll probably get through all of them within about 3 or 4 weeks. The one that we're looking at today, I think, is actually the hardest. And it's actually not too hard. It's just that there's a lot of them. There's a lot of different types of this type of chromatic harmony. So that is how we're going to start. We're just going to say that, first of all, chromatic harmony is an umbrella term that encompasses loads of different types of harmonies. And chromatic harmonies are all shared, the shared characteristic that they all should have at least one accidental, at least one note that doesn't belong to the key that you're in. And that's it. After that, it's all the unique identifiers for each one. Okay, and the one that we're going to look at today is secondary dominants. Okay, they are by far, and secondary functions are by far the most popular type of chromatic chord. So let's get stuck into it. So, and hopefully try and demystify some of these things. You'll have probably heard them without fully realizing what they were and thinking, oh, that's just a nice sounding chord, and many of them are. So if you haven't come across secondary dominants or secondary function chords in general, yeah, this is probably some of the cases where you will hear it. A lot of pop music, guys like Elton John or Freddie Mercury and Queen, anyone I can think of who played piano in a rock group and who knows a little bit about music and music theory and things like that, guys who've had a little bit of training in this stuff, you know, they really do know how to use it well. So yeah, that's the first place. Nearly every single Christmas carol that you've ever heard will have some sort of secondary function chord in it. Vast majority of classical music will have it, and the vast majority of jazz music. So it's in nearly every style. Okay. Here I'm going to explain it without looking at any handouts. First of all, I just want to explain it visually, okay, before we start, and orally as you hear it, rather than getting into the theory of it. We'll look at the theory in a second. So we're going to be in the key of C. I'm going to open up, yeah, that's the little classroom maestro. So hopefully you guys can see that we're in the key of C. That's called the tonic chord. Tonic, I think, from the old Greek, meaning key. So key, that's our key chord. The next most important type of chord after your tonic is the dominant, and that's 5 away. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's our dominant chord. So our tonic and our dominant. And those are the two most important chords for any key. The tonic chord and the dominant chord, especially in Western classical and jazz and pop music. It's kind of the foundation of all Western music, really. This idea of tonic dominant harmony. There's a lot of pieces that don't have it, but the vast majority do. This relationship between chord 5 and chord 1 is extremely strong, okay? And that's what we're going to be looking at when it comes to secondary dominance, okay? So you could probably then, for the sake of this class, just think of chord 5 as like your primary dominant. We don't really call it that, we just call it the dominant. But it might be helpful to think of that as the primary dominant. 99 times out of 100, it wants to progress to chord 1. And it may not be as just simple as this. But sometimes it is. It may be something more like this. Instead of G, B, D like that, it could be G, B, D like this, and a G down here. Still chord 5. Still the same 3 notes, just a different voicing for them. So hopefully you're hearing that pull, that tendency tone. It tends to go up. Da-dum. Leading note up to the tonic note. That's why it's called the leading note, by the way. Wants to lead up. Okay, take that relationship and apply it to any other 2 chords in that key, and you'll have your secondary dominance. Okay, let's look at a couple of examples then. If you are looking at chord 2 in the key of C major, it's a D minor chord. Okay, you can also analyze it slightly different as, like, you know, Roman numerals chord 2 or jazz harmony, just D minor, whatever you prefer, it doesn't really matter. It also has a dominant. This is our first secondary dominant that we're looking at. Our first secondary. So this is our secondary dominant chord. If you go 5 up from D, A, that's going to be 5 away from D. Make that a dominant chord. And you'll notice that all dominant chords should have a major feel to them. This C sharp is the chromatic note that we absolutely need. Remember that this is chromatic chords we're looking at, and all chromatic chords need at least 1. And this is the one that we have here. and it's the leading note that wants to go up. And do you hear how it wants to go up to D? Just like the B wanted to go up. Okay, so hearing that relationship of 5 of 2 to chord 2, 5 of 1 to chord 1. Okay, so that's our secondary dominant chord, is that A major. So why do we call it a secondary dominant chord? Well, it's secondary in that it's not the primary dominant chord. The primary dominant chord should be your G major chord, as we've already looked at. So that makes it secondary. And it's a dominant because you could think of it as the dominant of D minor. Even though we're technically still in the key of C here, we're thinking of the dominant of D minor, chord 2. So pretend that just for this, you're in the key of D minor, just for these 2 chords. But you're better not thinking of it as modulation or anything. There's a lot of textbooks that go into pages and pages saying this is not changing key. If anything, this could be establishing the old key even more, the key of C major. So you're not in the key of D minor, but there's definitely a pull towards D minor. In America, they call that tonicization. You're tonicizing D. Okay, making D your tonic, or at least your temporary tonic, because usually right after that you hear, you know, you're back into the old key again, so to speak. But we haven't really left the old key. It's just this feeling of you're suggesting another key, but we're not going there. Okay, so you're just talking about it, but you're not actually going. Okay, so that's our first secondary dominant, is that A major chord. You can apply that principle to any other degree of the scale. So we have the 5 of 2, which is D. You can have chord 3, which is an E minor chord, and its secondary dominant is going to be from that B. There we go. Okay, even the way it's analyzed there, you can see 5 of 3. B, D sharp, F sharp, B. It wants to go da 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 dum dum to chord 3. Yeah, so these secondary function chords usually act like chord 5 to something. So 5 of 3 to chord 3, 5 of 2 to chord 2. Yeah, so they have this pull. They work in pairs nearly all the time. If I was to play a piece of music for you, you should hopefully hear. I'll point out some of the secondary dominants, and hopefully I won't play the original because it's copyrighted, of course, but I will play the my version of it. The one that I always play for my students was Queen, Don't Stop Me Now, which is in the key of F. But I'll still point out where the secondary dominants are, and hopefully you guys will be able to hear it as well. If I just move everything into F. Being able to hear them, I think, is much more useful. Far more useful. Okay. There's one already. That's another one. Okay, so what do we have here? We have chord 1. Chord 3. Chord 6. 2, 1, 4, 5. All of those chords belong to the key of F. There's nothing that's been chromatic so far. The key of F should only have a B flat in it. So if you start seeing anything else in my playing, you'll know that's the chromatic harmony kicking in. So... into the first course. Okay, so yeah, there's 2 secondary function chords there, secondary dominant chords. I sometimes call them secondary function chords because there are others that we'll be looking at, but secondary dominants are the most popular, by far the most popular. They're in every type of music. We're going to hear loads of examples tonight, and that's a really good example of one that most people will have heard that song before. There's a couple by Elton John we'll do as well. But most people have heard that song before and go, oh, all right, okay. And same with a lot of David Bowie stuff. There's a lot of this stuff that, you know, it's like, all right, I can hear the secondary dominant chord. Once it's pointed out, you can't really unhear it. And the same way there, you hopefully were able to hear a strong pull between 2 different chords, where you hear that, and the world, oh, world, I can't sing. World, inside out. Yeah, there. Da 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 dum. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So the pull is between this chord and this chord, your chord 4. So there's a 5 of 4. We had 5 of 4. Da 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 dum. And it really wants to go to chord 4. And it does. So you can have loads of 5 of 2s, 5 of 3s, 5 of 4s. Even the dominant can have its own dominant, like 5 of 5 to chord 5, 5 of 6. The only one that doesn't is the last chord of the key that you're in, the leading note chord, because it's usually in the major key. That's a diminished chord. We've seen this before when we were looking at diatonic chords that time, going back to the previous class that we looked at for chords. We saw the chord 7 as a diminished chord, so it can't have a secondary dominant because you're not really tonicizing. You can't really, like in the key of C major, chord 7 is your B, D, F chord, so you can't really say that we're in tonicizing B diminished because there isn't a key. There's no such key as B diminished. You can have B minor, you can have B major. You can't really have B diminished. Okay, so that's the one exception, guys. You'll never see really a 5 of 7 leading note chord. But every other one can be tonicized. So in the key of C major, think of every single chord except for chord 7. And behind each of those chords, you should be thinking of like another bank of chords, the secondary dominants. So 1 has a dominant, 2 has a dominant, 3 has a dominant, 4 has a dominant, 5 also has a dominant, 6 has a dominant, and 7 can't really have a dominant. So, but all the other ones do, and they're used because there's so many secondary dominant chords in every key. Like, you know, for 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, chord 1 has the primary dominant, but chord 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, all of them have a dominant chord. that means that every key probably has at least one or two, or every piece of music probably has at least one or two of these secondary dominants somewhere in them. But yeah, that was a pop tune that has it in the key of F we were looking at. Don't Stop Me Now by Queen. So look out for that. See, can you hear that pull? If I was to actually just keep this active while I put this into the major, F major key, see if you guys could see the harmony. Chord 1. Chord 3. Chord 6. Chord 2. One first inversion. 4. 5. All of those are parts. There's hasn't been one accidental yet. Dum, da, 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 da. Oops. Dum, da, 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 dum, dum. Sorry for picturing Freddie Mercury's legacy there. There's your 5 of 4. See that we need that little 7th to make it a chromatic chord. If we take that E flat out, it's just chord 1. And the world. There's no pull towards 4, but there's a far stronger pull when you have that 7th in there. Da 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 da. So that's a little awkward one. I've always thought anyway. The chord 4 has always got like a little awkward extra thing you've got to do to make it a secondary dominant. You've got to use a secondary dominant 7th. You've got to have that 7th in there, that E flat. Otherwise, it's just chord 1. So you need that little E flat in there, and that's a great tune to watch out for. So listen to the introduction to Queen, Don't Stop Me Now, and can you hear that? And the world part. And the world. Da, 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 da. Hopefully your ear hears that pull. Da, 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 da. The B flat. Da, 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 dum, bum, bum. But you can't really say we're now in the key of B flat, because within the next phrase you're out of it. Da, 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 da. Chord 2 of the original key of F. Da 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 dum, 5 of 2. So don't stop me now. All chord 2. Dum. Yeah, and then back to chord 1. So that's traveling at the speed of light. So there's a couple of times you hear that 5 of 2. Da 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 da. Ba 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 ba. Ba da 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 da. And then you're done. Whatever. Okay, so that's something to watch out for. The pieces of music that you already know. See, can you hear, are there like these chords that are pulling towards each other? They're probably secondary dominants, and they're the most common. Even just taking, I know it's like weird to be looking at Christmas carols in March, but if I was to do one, let me see, what would I do? Put it into C major, just so we can easily see any accidentals. It doesn't get much more basic than Silent Night. Let me see, I'll just put in the jazz analysis for us. G major, chord 5, da 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 dum, chord 1, da 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 dum, chord 4, da 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 dum, chord 1, ba 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 bum, ba 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 bum. Now that chord there, if I just change that, da, 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 da. If I go back to normal analysis, well, so-called normal analysis, Let me see if I could just activate this. There we go. Took forever. 5 of 6. Da, 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 da. 5 of 5, maybe. Da, 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 dum, dum. So a couple of wee secondary dominants, even as something as simple as Silent Night. I think it has 2 of them there. So if I was just to get rid of the analysis, because sometimes that puts us off. So da, 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 dum. So hopefully you're hearing that pull da, between those 2 notes. Dum, da. Okay, so if it's in something as basic as Silent Night, secondary dominants, you can guarantee they're going to be in probably most pieces of music that you've come across. Okay. The other one that I was thinking of, which I was only sort of looking at earlier on today, the Elton John one. Let me see if I can just get rid of this for a wee sec. Not, it's a different chromatic chord. We'll look at those later. Okay, it's in the actual choruses then. Yeah, there's actually quite a few chromatic chords in this. I didn't realize how complicated this one was. It's definitely more complicated than the Queen one. The actual Goodbye Yellow Brick. Then the next chord is you'll probably hear Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. The dogs of society. I can't sing that. Oh, you can't let me in your paradise. There. Da 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 da. Hopefully you can hear that being pulled up. There's kind of another one. quite a few chromatic chords in this one, but the main one to look out for, that secondary dominant, is that da 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 dum. So if we tried to analyze that in the key of F major, F majors are tonic again, just like the Don't Stop Me Now by Queen. So F major again for Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. That's your chord 1. Your chord 2 is your G, B flat and D. Now you might think, well, that's a chromatic chord. No, the B flat belongs to the key of F major. Okay, so it does belong into that key. So this chord is diatonic. This is chord 2. If you do its secondary dominant by counting up 5, make it a major chord. Da 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 dum. Da 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 dum. Ba 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 bum. Da 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 dum dum. Oh, I find it a sight from my futures beyond the yellow brick. I'll have to analyze those other ones differently, but that one is the main. That's the easiest one to watch out for. So yeah, we have it in Queen, we have it in Elton John songs, we have it in Christmas carols. Barbershop quartets are a big one. I'm going to let you guys actually hear one that was uploaded to, I think this was uploaded to Facebook. So this is like an old barbershop quartet. Some of the best barbershop quartet singers, actually. The video itself's a bit old. I think it goes back to the 70s, as you can tell. But it's not really so much the fashion that we're looking at or the quality of the video. It's the performance that matters. Okay, so it's the music. So I'll share with you guys like a proper group, proper musicians singing this, and then we'll analyze what they're actually doing, what they're singing. So it's really tricky to sing in barbershop quartets because you're constantly trying to do 4-part harmony, and there's lots of chromatic harmony in there to sort of accomplish that. So let's see what you guys think for this barbershop quartet video. So apologies, it's a wee bit grainy, but it's just that because it's from 1973. So it's seen better days, this video. But let's have a wee listen to it. It's only a couple of minutes.
Barbershop harmony, it's 3 parts harmonizing with the known melody. Take the melody of this song. Tell me why the stars do shine. There's always a tenor part above the melody. Tell me why the stars do shine. Now listen to the 2 of them together in a duet. Tell me why the stars do shine. There's always a bass on the bottom of the chord. Tell me why the stars do shine. Not very interesting by itself, but listen to it with the lead and tenor. Tell me why the stars do shine. Any space in the chord is filled by the baritone voice. Listen to the baritone. Tell me why the stars do shine. Not at all an interesting part, but listen to it when all of the parts are put together. Tell me why the stars do shine. That's barbershop.
Yeah, so that's probably a really good example, guys, of the sort of barbershop quartet harmony that we're looking for. You're going to find lots of secondary function chords in there. In fact, I think I did analyze this one. Let me just check. I think, yeah, I did. So just let me open this up for a second to show you. Okay, so it's exactly that music, that same pitch and everything. Chord 1 at the start, and then 5 of 5 to 5. Then chord 1 again, then 5 of 4, then 5 of 6, and then 4, and then 1. So there's a lot. There's like 1, 2, 3 secondary dominant chords in there. The 5 of 5, the 5 of 4, and the 5 of 6 are all in there. So if we just, you see, bring this in, whoops, into the key of B flat just for a second, just to make sure my analysis comes out correct. I'm playing it for you guys. Yeah, okay, everything's flattened now. So there's your 5, 7 of 5. And then your 5, 7, 2, 1. So 10. That's the melody. Dum, dum, da, 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 da. 5, 7 of 4. So we're here at this part with the B flat, the A flat, and the D and the F. And then a really interesting and nice progression too. I messed it up because I had it should be F sharp. It's coming up as G flat. That should be there. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. That F sharp wants to go up, and it does. Yeah, so it's quite advanced secondary dominance there. All within 3 bars, you had 3 different secondary dominant chords. Sorry, I messed that up. I'll do that again properly. Is there no D? Interesting that they didn't have the D at the start, but just have 2 Fs. Okay, so the real sort of thing about secondary dominant chords, I think anyway, the thing that really stands out is the tendency, the pull towards the next chord. That's what you're looking out for. Nearly all the time, that's achieved by just going to what you're the secondary dominant of. So if you're the secondary dominant of 5, like 5 of 5, usually chord 5 comes after that. 5 of 4, usually chord 4 comes after that. 5 of 2 comes after that, you know, so usually the 2 comes after that 5 of 2, which is what we heard there with, goodbye yellow brick road, what was it? Goodbye yellow brick road, where the dogs of society home. Da, 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 da. There's your pull. 5 of 2 to chord 2. And we heard that as well with Don't Stop Me Now. Da, 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 da. So yeah, in both keys, it's actually on both pieces, it was the same secondary dominant that was used. 5 of 2 to chord 2. We also heard it in Silent Night as well. Sleep in Heavenly Peace, which was, and was it again? Sleep, ba, 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 ba. So 5 of 6 to chord 6. So yeah, you hear it. Usually that's how you achieve that satisfying resolution, that dissonance that you've introduced, the sharp or the flat, the chromatic note, and then resolving that the way it should resolve. The easiest way to do that is just to go to the next chord it's the secondary dominant of. So 5 of 2 will usually be followed by 2. 5 of 3 is usually followed by 3. 5 of 4 is usually followed by 4. 5 of 5 is followed by 5. 5 of 6 is followed by 6. Usually. You can see here that for the first one, 5 of 5 is going to chord 5. So that's norm. But 5 of 4 is actually resolving to another secondary dominant. That can happen as well, because the secondary function chord we've introduced here was an introduced in A flat. So that all that has to do is just resolve, and you would think as a flat it's going to fall down da, 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 to E flat. So you're thinking 5 of 4 is going to go to 4, but it's interrupted by this chord here, and that's why I said originally when I was playing this, that's interesting that we're not going 5 of 4 straight to 4. We're getting there via another chromatic harmony, another secondary dominant, which also wants to pull towards 4 because that F sharp wants to resolve up. That F sharp wants to hit the G. And when you hear that, so that's really, really nice. That's one of the nicest sort of ways of using secondary dominant chords when you have all these sort of chromatic notes. You can see, look, we're meant to be in the key of B flat here, and we've got E naturals, we've got F sharps, we've got A flats, you know, so, and that's only in the space of 2 bars. You can imagine what this would be like over an entire piece. So it's really quite tricky to sort of, you know, learn to sort of sing along that way, because you have to be always wary of where those notes want to resolve. So apologies that my piano sometimes is analyzing that as G flat when it really should be just be an F sharp. It doesn't like it when I try to introduce all this chromatic stuff, but it is actually standard. Yeah, so barbershop quartets. Where else have we seen this type of harmony before? The one that I use with students quite a bit is the Lacrimosa from Mozart's Requiem. Now, if you're able to follow along with this, fair play to you, because this is like, this will be first year undergraduate degree in music, I suppose, Lacrimosa. Excuse me. Trying not to sneeze. So, some of you guys may already know this piece. There's quite a few chord 1s, 2s, and 5s at the beginning where you hear this. So. You hear that quite a few bits. Da, 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 da. All of that is part of the harmony. There's nothing, you know, unusual there. 1, 2, and 5. It's actually the same thing over and over. It's like a wee harmonic ostinato almost. It's the next page. Okay, so let's get our key ready for this, because this is where the real interesting stuff happens. Let me just put it into minor for a second. Yeah. So the next page down, look at all this. My goodness. 1, 5, 1. Very basic. Then 5 of 3 to 3. Then 5 of 5 to 5. Then 5 of 7 to 7. Then 5 of 3 to 3. A secondary leading note chord, which we've not even looked at in this lesson. We're only looking at secondary dominants, but the other sort of family of secondary function chords are the secondary leading note chords. We're not going to look at them until much, much later on. I want you guys to get used to the idea of secondary dominance, first of all, because they are far, as you can see, they're everything we've looked at tonight: Elton John, Freddie Mercury, barbershop quartets, Christmas carols, classical Requiem masses by Mozart. Secondary dominants are everywhere. This is the first time we've really come across a secondary leading note chord. Same idea, though. It's just chord 7 above 4. And the same principles apply as well, that it wants to move to chord 4. Just like 5 of 3 wants to go to 3. Just like 5 of 7 wants to go to 7. 5 of 5 wants to go to 5. So it's not really so much the analysis, guys, that matters. It's the effect that it has. It has this sort of chromatic harmony where you've got this chromatic scale all the way up to this high note. So... And as it says here, it wasn't. These are some of the last bars of music written by Mozart before he died. So this is like as complicated as his harmony's ever going to get, because he didn't. I think a lot of his is it Susemeyer? A lot of his sort of pupils after he passed away finished off a lot of what came. He had sketches and ideas like of what was coming, and they sort of filled in the blanks for a lot of things after all this. But it was around this sort of area, I think, where Mozart wrote his final bars of music. So I'm just going to repeat, as I play through these chords, I just want to repeat the top note, just to let you hear that chromaticism and how effective chromatic harmony is. Okay, so this is all the scalic so far. Let's try it again. Okay, so we're now going to... We've landed here. From this point onwards, it does get a little bit more unusual. We've got B's, we've got E's, and we've got G sharps. So B, B, G sharp, and E. So where does that fit in? It starts going. So the harmony here is beginning to get a wee bit complicated from this point onwards. Okay, so from here to the last two bars, in fact, where you have this sort of chromatic scale from D all the way up to A. Yeah, that's where you're going to start really hearing the pull from one chord to the next. So I'm just going to play from, let me see. Yeah, so there's kind of some interesting chords in there. Is hopefully you guys could hear the da 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 at the end. So I have to keep doing that wrong. There we go. That's over the next page. So that little, I want to play the real music, but it'll be copyrighted. So definitely worth going away. Check out the real, obviously, Lacrimosa from Mozart's Requiem. So yeah, it's number 6 in the Requiem, 6th item. Okay, so hearing that. Go that high. It's way beyond my singing. Yeah, so obviously when you have geniuses like Mozart who are able to, think of these things in their minds of, chromatic harmony, one progression after the other. yeah, it can be that complicated, or you could have Silent Night where you have one, or modern rock songs, more modern rock songs, more modern anyway than this, where you hear maybe just the same type of chromatic harmony being used at choruses or important structural points in the piece. This is in the opening of Lacrimosa, and over the course of 3 bars we have, well, I suppose 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 if you include the leading note, German augmented 6th chord here at the very end, which we'll look at in another class, the augmented 6th chords. Those are nice because there's only 1 per key, whereas the ones that we were looking at, guys, in this class, there were loads of them. Okay, there was like 5 in each key. So you have your normal primary dominant, and then the next 5 are going to be secondary dominants, and then the last chord 7 doesn't really have a secondary dominant. So yeah, you can have up to 5 secondary dominants and 5 secondary leading note chords with other types of variations in there too. So you could easily have at least 10 secondary function chords in every key. Some of these chromatic harmonies we're going to be looking at, there's only going to be 1. Like German augmented 6th chords, there's only 1 in every key, in each key. So yeah, that's going to be relatively straightforward and easier. But I wanted to do the hardest ones first, the secondary dominants, because they're the most popular, they're the most numerous, they're in every style of music. German augmented 6th chords like this are super, super rare in pop music and even in jazz music as well. They tend to sort of do other type of extended chords and things. So, but everybody does secondary dominants. It's just because they're so satisfying to hear. You know, that pull, that tension that you've introduced, and then it resolves. You hopefully we're able to hear how this is all kind of straightforward. But here, hopefully you're able to hear that da-dum sounds, tension resolved. Da-dum. More tension resolved. More tension resolved. Sort of. Yeah, so each one of those introduces tension and the next chord resolves it, which is kind of the whole point. Tension resolved. Tension resolved. Tension resolved. Okay. So yeah, barbershop quartets, Requiem masses. And also there's another one there that I had ready to go as well. Hark the Herald Angels Sing. I've written it out with analysis here, but hopefully you guys don't have to read that. It's more the sound that you're aiming for. You know that. Don't know why we're focusing so heavily on Christmas carols at this time of the year. Okay, so it's all G major so far anyway. I better actually reflect that in my keyboard, just in case it comes up with some weird looking accidentals for us. And we're actually modulating to D here, so this is a good example of how secondary dominants are different to modulating. Modulating, you should have more of the same chromatic note. It's not just that you hear it and see it once off in the score. It should reappear again and again and again. Keep pulling your ear towards that note of resolution, and then eventually your ear will think, oh right, okay, that is the home key now. I've heard that pull to the resolution so often that it's now stuck. It's solidified a new key. That's modulating. Modulation. Okay, so that's what we hear right now. So we're in G, and in bar 6, that's C sharp. Watch out for him. And then it's kind of awkward to play this on. I haven't got the stretch for half these chords. Okay, so we're going to D. Look how often that C sharp appears, and it's resolving to D, and here it's resolving to D as well. So from da da da, that's the first time, and then again da da. So we could have stayed in the key of D here. We've now established D as our new key, but we're immediately back into G. And again, sort of nice chords that are being used there. Passing 6/3s, cadential 6/4s. And again. Same phrase twice, really. Chord 4 for the first time. Hark the herald angels. That G sharp wanting to go up. 5 of 2 to 2. We've heard that a lot tonight. 5 of 2 to 2. It's definitely 5 of 2 to 2 and 5 of 6 to 6 are that my favorites because they establish like a minor feel instead of a major key. And that's what we have here, the 5 of 2. And then first inversion. Chord 5 of 2. That G sharp needs to resolve up. If I take the G sharp out, doesn't sound anywhere near as nice. Nowhere near as nice. Almost has a wee modal feel to it. How's that different from what we had up here when we were modulating? Well, you had like 3 C sharps here. Here you only have the 1 G sharp. The bar before it had no G sharps, and the bar after it doesn't have any G sharps. So it's isolated. Secondary function chords tend to be like that. It's almost like a wee miniature perfect cadence in another key. You could think of this as chord 5 to chord 1, A minor, in the key of A minor, 5 to 1. But everything before it's in the old key, everything after it's in the old key, so it's not modulating. Okay, so we can't really think of it that way. And then the next bar re-establishes chord 1 there. What happens in the next? I should know this off by heart, but I don't. And then the phrase repeats. These are a wee bit awkward spacing wise. Okay, so yeah, it happens twice, the same 5 of 2 to 2. So watch out for that next time you're singing Christmas carols in a long time, 8 months, whenever. That you're going to be hearing more often than not the same, in Christmas carols especially, the same secondary function chord will appear the same way more than once, because usually Christmas carols are quite repetitive that way, so they're harmonically they're quite simplistic. Most of the time this is chord 1s. Don't worry about all the figured Roman numeral bass, guys. This is for more like grade 6, 7, 8 music theory. It's the fact that we've got loads of chord 1s, 4s and 5s, a couple of 2s to set up the 5 of 2 to 2, then we're back to 5 to 1 to 1 to 1 to 5 to 1, 4 4 4 1 2, 5 of 2 2, 5 5 1 1 1 5 1. So it's all primary harmony. It's all 1 4s and 5s, and the times when it isn't is when you introduce those interesting chromatic harmonies. The 5 of 2 is the example here. Okie doke. Secondary function chords. What's this one? Oh, this is another good one. Yeah, Nina Simone. Let me see. I think it is anyway. Yeah. I wish. My goodness, right at the very first bar. Okay, we've got another 5 of 6 to 6, I suppose. So here we have 1, da da dum to A minor. So we're tonicizing A minor there, which is chord 6 in the key of C. So chord 1, 5 of 6, chord 6, 5 of 4 to chord 4. Okay. If I was to just quickly sort of pull this, analyze this, we've got 5. I'm not going to worry about the, you know, what the bass note's doing, and just, you know, the overall harmony. 5 of 6. This is awful. Pen. Let me just get this a bit thicker. The overall harmony there is 5 of 6 to 6. Let me just draw that in. 5 of 6 there. The chord 6 here. Then we've got the 5, 7 of 4 to chord 4 here. Remember, we're all in C major for this, and this is in the first 3 bars. Well, first 2 bars actually. It's a lovely chord, that. What happens with it then? Okay, same thing. 1. Nothing yet. 5 of 5 to 5 here. 5 of 5 to 5. We're not modulating to G. I know some people might think that F sharp is definitely suggesting G major, but remember that the bar before we didn't have any Fs. Okay, and coming up we don't have any Fs. It's immediately cancelled out, that F sharp down here. So it's cancelled there. GBD. Well, we don't have any Fs here as such, but here we kind of did over here. So we can't really say we've modulated for, you know, 2 bars, and then everything before is in the old key and everything immediately after is in the old key. When you modulate, your ear should be pulled towards a new key, and that new key should be established, and you should probably stay in it as well. You don't really establish a key and then suddenly, you know, that's it. It happens as a process over the course of a few bars where you'll see the same accidental again and again and again. 1 F sharp does not make G major. Even though you might think, oh, sounds like we're going into G, it's cancelled very quickly. So if I play this bar, hopefully you'll hear how we detour to G very, very quickly, but then it's a secondary dominant. We pull back. We go back into the old key. Whoops. What happens down here? Same thing. Lovely chords. Oh, nice. Diminished chord sort of feel. That one probably wants to go up. Yeah. Here. Another. That's another one there. 5 of 6 again to chord 6, but this time it's far thicker. Like how many times we hear like these notes. And I think there was another wee one here again. We have the same. It's the same as before. 5 of 6 to chord 6 again here. And again we have the 5, 7 of 4 to chord 4 again here. And what's this? It's more of a diminished 7th chord. We'll look at those in another lesson. Diminished 7th chords. It's another type. It belongs to the, usually belongs to the chromatic chord family. So augmented 6th chords, German augmented 6th chords, Neapolitan chords, diminished 7th chords, borrowed chords, altered chords. There's a whole family, and we're just looking at secondary dominants because they're the biggest. As you can see, Like in this one piece, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I think another one here at the end. That's another diminished 7th chord. Although that... definitely that's acting. Yeah, as a 5/7 of 5 to a 1, da da dum bum bum, and then there's your dominant 7th there to 1. Whoops, that looks a bit weird. Okay, so that's a really sort of, you know, brutal analysis, very, very quick. But it's just to show you how often it happens. There's once, twice. That's a diminished chord, so we won't count him. And there's another version of it up there, another secondary dominant, another secondary dominant here, another secondary dominant here, and here, and here, sort of. That's kind of tied into this. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's just the first verse. So it's quite a lot. Sorry, my side reading is awful, as you can tell. Just making up the rhythm now. Oh, got the wee morning. Oh my goodness. It should go to that, hopefully. Yes. So, just excuse my terrible piano playing for this. It's not really meant to be performance. It's more just to sort of let you guys hopefully hear those pulls to each of those secondary dominants where they want to go. And again. Yeah, the diminished 7th chords are similar. They also want to resolve a certain way, but we'll look at them at another time. Okay, I can kind of play it slower. But yeah, that's the thing to watch out for, guys, in this secondary function chords. Can you hear where the pull is? If you hear any sort of tension like that when you're listening to a piece of music, always be on the lookout for those little semitone movements, da-dum, or even da-dum, falling down. Usually it's going up. Nearly all the time it's going up. If it feels like it's going down, that's usually 5 of 4 to 4. 5 of 4 has to have that da-dum, feeling of being pulled down. Okay. So yeah, we've heard it now in soul and sort of, not sure what you would. I wish I knew how. I think it'd probably be more sort of like a soul piece, sort of mixture of gospel and soul and everything there. Barbershop, quartets. Yeah, we've heard it. Mozart's Requiem. Played a little bit of Elton John and Queen earlier as well. So everywhere is where you're hearing this particular chromatic chord. Be on the lookout up for it. I'm not going to save, no, I'm not going to save that butcher that I did to any of those scores. There we go. And Hark the Herald Angels Singing, of course. Christmas carols, we've heard it in Silent Night, we've heard it here. I've yet to come across any Christmas carol that doesn't have at least one. Let's test that theory. Surely not. Yeah. You can't say we've gone to G major, because immediately you're back to da dum da da dum dum da 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 dum. There's even another one possibility. Da ba da dum. Da 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 dum da da dum da da dum da dum. So yeah, even Away in a Manger. Lullabies will have it. It's hard to find a piece that doesn't, unless you're like sort of just picking up, 3 chord songs, like, Learn 300, pop tunes with just, the same 3 chords, like 1, 4, and 5. Usually they're 1, 4, and 5. Or if it's like a lot of jazz reel books, it could be 2, 5, 1s. Yeah, but even then, the door's always open to decorate any of those harmonies, but secondary dominant chords. So you may not hear it in some pieces, but it's very easy to put them in. All you need to do is just raise a note and then make sure it resolves to where it wants to go. I mean, for example, there, when I had Away in a Manger, now there wasn't any secondary dominant that I had in there the first time around, but the second time around I did introduce it. Put in the B flat. We were going to go to chord 4 anyway, and we're approaching it from chord 1. Da da, away in a manger, da 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 da. So why not add it in? Let's have a look at what would the analysis be to that. Yeah. 5, 7, and 4. No grip for a da 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 dum. 5 of 5 to 5. So it's in the most simplistic, music that you'd play even to put children to sleep, as well as the most, drama-filled Requiem mass stuff by Mozart. They're everywhere. So they're definitely worth knowing. The other ones too, like German augmented sixths, diminished seventh, definitely. Neapolitan chords, borrowed chords, and altered chords. They're all worth knowing. Maybe the diminished seventh more than any of them, but the king, I think, for all of them is secondary dominance. Because it's in the most simplistic music you've ever heard and the most complicated high art music that exists as well. So it's everywhere. So let's just summarize then what we have here. Secondary dominance. What are secondary dominants? They are the most common type of altered chord. Okay. So the most common. And they're far more popular than any of the others that we're going to be looking at. And that's because the chromatic notes creates a functional dominant. That's the sort of technical term. It has a purpose. This 5 of 2 creates the feeling of another dominant, a secondary dominant. And as we've already said right from the very start, your dominant note or your dominant note and chord are the next most important notes and chords after your tonic notes and chords. Obviously, your tonic note and chord is the most important thing in any piece because that's the establishment of everything else for the piece, the whole tonal structure of the piece, where all the chords relate to one another. How does one chord progress to the other? So everything is sort of based off of your tonic chord, and then the next most important is your dominant chord. So secondary dominants are obviously going to be super important and popular as well. The normal dominant, chord 5, their GBD chord in this case, in the key of C major, acts as the 5th chord of that tonic chord, which we already looked at. Secondary dominants act as the 5th chord for any other major or minor chord outside of the tonic. Tonic already has its dominant. The primary dominant is what I call it sometimes, is to distinguish it from all the secondary dominants. So in a major key, we've seen all of these tonight. 5 of 2, or even 5/7 of 2. Add a 7th in there if you want a dominant 7th. Why not? 5 of 3 to 5/7 of 3. 5/7 of 4. You have to have it as a 7th. Because if you don't, then you just got chord 1. So you need to have that. Da 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 da. Okay, the 5 of 5, the 5/7 of 5, the 5 of 6, the 5/7 of 6. So all of these can have 7s attached to them. It doesn't really change anything other than just make that pull towards the next chord even stronger. Okay, so a 5 of 2 to chord 2 is extremely strong. What would it be? Let me see. It would be. If I make it a dominant 7th with that G, that really now wants to resolve. Just like. But notice that it's not needed, it's not required, because all you need is that chromatic note, that note that doesn't belong to the key. That's the only thing you really need to make it a chromatic chord. That's just decorative, but it just sounds even nicer. Okay, that's kind of most of it summarized there. Yeah, you could. I've written it all out here, and this will be in the blog as well, the sort of summary, all these little pictures if you want to, if you're a piano player or a guitar player and you want to go ahead and, play these chords, it'll feel like a perfect cadence, 5/1 in D minor, or 5/1 in E minor, 5/1 in F, 5/1 in G, 5/1 in A minor. That's why the Americans call it that term tonicization. Very useful term to know, because it tonicizes D or E or F or G or A. And it also explains why there isn't a 5 of 7, because you can't tonicize. You can't make a tonic out of B diminished. There's no such key as B diminished. You can have B minor, you can have B major, you can have loads of modes like B Aeolian, B Dorian, and B so on, but you cannot have B diminished as a key, at least. Not that I know of. There's probably, I know someone's going to say, what about such and such? He says such and such. Okay, there may be an exception, but it's going to be an exception that proves the rule. Okay, nearly everything that you'll listen to is going to be the major minor system or some form of mode. Until it'd be interesting if anyone knows anything that has a bit diminished key to it. Let me know. That'd be really super interesting for me. Anyway, because I'm a bit, as you can tell, I'm a bit nerdy about all this stuff. So if I was to play this progression without any secondary dominance, very basic: 1 5 2 5 1 4 5 1. Most of it is primary harmony, just 1s, 4s, and 5s. There's a little chord 2 in there, which may indicate possibility for something, who knows? But yeah, there's no real tension in the music at the moment. Oh my goodness. A wee bit of tension at the end, just with that dominant seventh. So no chromatic chords whatsoever. Very vanilla, very basic. It's a hard chord for me to play. I haven't got the best stretch, as you can probably tell. Let's add a few in. We're adding in the 5 of 5 and the 5 of 4. Watch out for the pull. Can you hear the... And you should also hear the pull. Yeah, so that's... Yeah, so there's always these little chromatic pulling up or pushing down. The only time you'll see it going down is on the 5 of 4, as we said before, because you need to have that flat in there to make it a secondary dominant chord, to make it a chromatic chord, and a chord with an accidental. Okay, secondary dominants often give the effect of a 5-1 cadence in any key other than the tonic. In other words, they act as the dominants of the chords that usually follow them. So we said that before as well, like 5 of 2, usually followed by 2. 5 of 4, usually followed by 4. 5 of 6, usually followed by 6. We saw actually in the Barbershop Quartet that sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes there's little other chromatic chords that just pop in, other secondary dominant chords that pop in. Super careful when you do that. You've got to be sure you know what you're doing. And obviously, when it comes to the Barbershop Quartet guys and the composers of those pieces, they know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly how to sort of manipulate the chords into the patterns and positions and movements that they want. Secondary dominants are used primarily for color, yeah, instead of modulation. So they're followed by chords which continue in the old key with the foreign note quickly cancelled. So you were able to hopefully see how this F sharp that I played before, I'll play it again. So that's cancelled within a couple of bars here. You no longer have that. So the pull upwards here, F sharp to G, is cancelled later by the F that appears there. And also the B flat, that's also cancelled pretty quickly. So, heard it there, and then cancelled out in the next bar. So you can't say we've modulated into G major here, and then we've modulated into F major. I've seen old Baroque theory books and stuff, especially by Bach and others, who would say, like, you know, the piece is in C major, and then for this bar it's in G major, for this bar it's in F major, and then back into C major again. That just doesn't make sense, really, especially to modern listeners when they're used to hearing longer, far longer pieces of classical music that could last, you know, hours if you're Wagner, or, you know, a good like 30 minutes for a symphony or something. It would be ridiculous to think you've modulated 3 times in the space of 2 bars. In fact, C to F, G major to F major back to C, you technically modulated 4 times, from away from C to G, away from G to F, and away from F back to C. So, no, you wouldn't ever really look at that as modulation, even if the old textbooks sometimes say so. There'll be some examples that I put in there for my more advanced students who are doing grade 8 theory, but you know, I won't be including those for you guys. That's just It'll just only confuse the issue. You really don't need to go into like extreme examples here. You'll be able just to type this in as well into Facebook or Google or YouTube or Wikipedia and find loads of examples of secondary dominants. Secondary dominants are usually followed by the chord for which they act as the dominant. As we said, 5 of 2 or 5 of 7 of 2, the dominant 7th of 2, usually followed by 2. Or 5 of 5 or the dominant 7th of 5, usually followed by 5. It creates the feeling of a perfect cadence or authentic cadence, to use the American term. It's a better term. Relationship between the authentic cadence relationship between both chords, with the second chord acting as the temporary tonic. As we said before, the Americans use this term tonicization, which we've kind of borrowed that as well. So in C major, 5 7 of 2 to 2 progression is tonicizing that chord 2, creating a feeling of an authentic perfect cadence in D minor for both chords. Notice how the chromatic note acts as the leading note, pulling your ear upwards. Yeah, that's C sharp wanting to go up. Okay, so that's something to watch out for. Secondary dominants can also be followed by the 7th chord of another secondary dominant. We actually saw that, but I'm not going to go into all the different, secondary dominants that can occur. We saw this in Barbershop quartets, where you have 5 of something to another 5 of something. Doesn't really matter, guys, as long as the resolution, as long as you're getting the feeling of a chromatic movement somewhere, that's the main thing. And also the main thing is being able to sort of put this into your own pieces. So, like, for Away in a Manger, that was the real thing to take away from that, was the idea of, like, you don't have to just keep playing chord 1. If you're going to go to 4 afterwards, make chord 4, tonicize chord 4 by introducing a secondary dominant on that chord 1. Now it's a 5 7 of 4 to 4, rather than just... Nothing wrong with that, but you can make it much more interesting. Far more interesting, I think. Far nicer. I've written them all out. I don't know why, but just to sort of give some students an idea of what they all look like next to each other in the same key. I am not going to go into all this. We've already gone into the Hark the Herald Angels Sing. We have not looked at the minor versions, but we don't really need to, because they're just, if you understand it in the major, the same principle just applies to the minor. You don't have to sit down and memorize all these chords. You can just sit down and memorize how to work out all these chords and just count 5 up, make it a major chord, and have the chromatic note resolve up. That's it. There's no big deal. Secondary leading note chords, we won't worry about that too much, guys. There's just loads of them. Look how many different secondary function chords there are. And that's the Lacrimosa we've looked at, actually. That was the slide that we looked at the beginning. Or at the middle. Yeah, so we've covered most of it, I think. Most of them, the most important things, anyway. That's definitely what I wanted to sort of go over tonight, anyway. Okay. So that's our little sort of brief tour into secondary dominant chords, part of this family of secondary function chords, which includes all those secondary leading notes as well. And they're also part of a much larger supergroup of chromatic harmony. Okay, so they are the best ones to look at because they're the most popular. They're in every type of music, from the most complicated symphonies and concertos and Requiem masses to the most mundane and easy and boring little lullabies or Christmas carols or whatever, to some of the more difficult, like Barbershop quartets or the more popular rock pieces. All of them will have some sort of secondary function chord, or at least the better ones do. The ones that you and I probably know more than the ones that don't tend to be easily forgotten. So if it has an interesting harmony, and if it's like an interesting, it's composed in an interesting way, it'll make it more memorable. So yeah, watch out for secondary harmony, guys. If you have any questions on it, do leave a comment as well in the YouTube, or come on over to the Top Score Music Academy community over there as well. If you join the community, you get loads of wee free things as well. So it's all being set up over there as we speak. So yeah, you're more than welcome to join us over there. You can like and subscribe as well. That'll always be helpful. Please do like and subscribe, guys, because it does help sort of let YouTube know that these are real videos. I had a wee bit of a scare today because I put up so many new things over the last week over my website that YouTube was beginning to think that I wasn't a real person. So because I've released something like 16 videos and 4 streams and something like 8 blogs over the last week, and that's only because I'm getting better at doing it. So it is me. So if you like and subscribe, at least lets YouTube know that I'm not just some little sort of AI bot somewhere. So that'd be great. And definitely come over to and say hello in the community as well, guys. Come over and you set up an account. You're in the community forever. Make your own password. I will never know what it is unless you want me to, give you a new one. If you forget your password. So you can set everything up over there, and yeah, you get all the free stuff, get talking to other people who are learning the same things as you, and also leave comments, questions, anything that you need help with, let me know. Yeah, okay, so just before I sign off here, guys, I want to sort of stay on for maybe it's another minute or two in case anybody comes in with their own questions. I'm going to have to check the community just to be sure that I've covered everything. Okay, so just let me put some of the tunes back on for a wee sec. Okay. Gotta check my levels here when I'm at it, actually. Okay, so pieces, all of them will have some sort of secondary function chord, or at least the better ones do, the ones that you and I probably know more. Okay. Okey-doke. Anyway, guys, so a couple of wee questions sent to me there about sort of more grade 7 stuff. Okay. Alrighty, I'll release some material on that pretty soon then. Grade 7, how to do questions 1 and 2 of grade 7 theory. Okay. Make it easy for me, why don't you? Radio. So if there's anything though that you guys want me to do, any sort of pieces of music or anything that you find particularly interesting that you want me to go through and explain, do let me know. And if I don't see you before next week, guys, have a great weekend, and I'll be back here next week, same time, on Wednesdays from 5 o'clock onwards for these Ask Me Anythings. Also come along if you can to the practice with me. It's always a bit of a laugh to see me sort of what's the word, panic about how to practice and do pieces of music live on stream, practicing and learning new pieces live. It's nerve-wracking, but it's always a laugh. So if you want to come over to that, that's going to be on Tuesdays from 6:15 London time. Okay, we'll leave it there, guys, and I'll see you again next time.